So typical as it is, I made my last video about my wish list for Feral Druid Dragonflight talents, and an hour later, Blizzard posted the official or current up-to-date talent trees for Dragonflight for Druid and for DK, and you can play around with them. If you actually go onto Mythic Trap, which I'll link in the description below, you can actually select and apply talent points to them. Really nice little, I guess, like widget or whatever to be able to do that. Now, in this video, I'm going to be taking you through things I would like to see improved on Feral, and the base kind of builds that I've come up with so far that I think I want to try around first. They're not the be-all and end-all, they're not perfect, and there's probably room for movement, but I'm going to give you my general feelings and breakdown. Now, many of you also come to me and ask about how to improve your own gameplay, right? And how you can get better at using cooldowns or when to use certain abilities and spells and whatnot. And that's why I want to recommend SquadOV to you who are sponsoring this video today. It's a great piece of software that you can download and automatically record your gameplay all for free. You can record your keys, your arena matches, your raid bosses, all automatically, and then go back and review this, like, spell uses at particular times, certain pulls that you did, all sorts of incredible information using SquadOV. There'll be a link down in the description, but I definitely recommend it. It's something that I use personally. It's something that I think you would all really enjoy in order to review your own gameplay. Starting things off, this is like a Mythic Plus build that I've come up with. It basically allows you in the class tree to get Skull Bash, which gives you an interrupt. It allows you to get Soothe, Stampeding Roar, Typhoon, Innovate, Vortex. So quite some good utility. You lose like Remove Corruption, so you don't have a Dispel. You lose Hibernate, so you don't have that, and you lose Cyclone. These three aren't as important in Mythic Plus, I would say, in general. There are some dungeons where you probably will want Remove Corruption, in which case you would shift your talents around slightly. Maybe you give up Typhoon and some other things, and then you can get that there. So you don't have to go too deep into it. So there'll be some changes to this depending on the key that you're doing. You also, from this, get Well-Honed Instincts. You get Ursine Vigor. Two really important defensive aspects of Feral Druid. Shifting into Bear is going to just help you keep you alive. Nature's Vigil should be really nice, and I'll get into details later, but basically having access to... This is only single target abilities that are going to be doing this healing, but if you're running Apex, which I am, then you'll get these big bites, which will do a lot of healing, if you think about it, spread out. And then, of course, you're also going to have Primal Wrath rips on every mob, but now technically the rip is single target, so that should, in theory, work. Same with like Thrash Bleed and stuff like that. So you should get some decent healing overall. You're then getting Primal Fury. So just some like general good stuff. Increased range on your abilities, which I think is really good for Feral and like really key. So yeah, that's kind of the class build. In terms of the tree itself then, the aim with this build is very spammy. It is very spammy. You get a lot of energy back from this build with running Predator. Also, by having the increased energy here, just 1 point in that. You also have Savage Roar, which is going to give you energy. Kedai Curio gives you energy. Soul of the Forest gives you energy. Apex procs give you energy. So you get a lot of energy refunding. You're also getting MOC, which is giving you energy. So you're getting a lot of refunded energy. You're also going to be having like things like MOC. You're going to have Frenzy Band here with this Berserk. So you're going to be getting a lot of like spammy abilities, and you're going to be swiping a lot. You're going to be doing a lot of Primal Wraths with your finishers. That's the aim of the game, big AoE. But you're also getting a few additional things. So you're getting Apex, which means that any of your procs are going to then allow you to get Ferocious Bites into the mix. In tandem with Circle of Life and Death here as well, your Primal Wraths are going to be ticking down quicker, which means that then you're going to get more Apex procs. And it also means that you're going to get more value. You're going to get more Primal Wraths in any given window, which is naturally just going to increase your AoE damage, right? So that's kind of the aim of the game there. You also, in this build, like I say, you're running Frenzy Band, so in AoE, generally you're going to be swiping. Though we do end up going for Blood Talons. The point of this, and this is based on Brutal Slash not replacing Swipe. We get Swipe over here in this tree. We get Brutal Slash here. If Brutal Slash replaces Swipe, then that's a big issue, and I'll get into that later. But if it doesn't, then it means that we can prop Blood Talons with Brutal Slash, then you Thrash, you have Scent of Blood here, which gives you a 6-second long buff where you're... I mean, this is really bad when it's competing with Primal Wrath, but when it's just a 1-point talent that we can just grab here really easily, it's actually pretty good. I think it could be. We'll have to see. But if you thrash on 10 mobs, your swipes are next to free, right? I think swipe is 35 energy, so they're basically free. Even if you're swiping on 5 mobs, you get half the cost of swipe from one thrash for 6 seconds. You get that full 6-second buff. So that means with Blood Talons, you can Brutal Slash, you can Thrash, which then gives you 6 seconds of free swipes or reduced swipes, and then you can swipe Primal Wrath, triple swipe, Primal Wrath, Brutal Slash, Thrash, swipe, Primal Wrath, and it's a really good rhythm, and you're going to be proccing your Blood Talons very regularly. And because you're running Circle of Life and Death, your Thrash is going to be ticking quicker, your Rips are going to be ticking quicker, which means that then you can proc your Blood Talons more regularly and not override Thrash for as much. So you're getting more value from all of these things. I really like the idea of this build. You could also potentially go, so you'd like not take Apex, you wouldn't take Cat-Eye Curio, I think, yeah, you just wouldn't take those 3. And then you come down this, maybe you don't take Blood Talons either. You come down this tree, so you get what? 1, 2, 3, 4 points back. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. You can get Incon. Incon will then increase your Frenzy Band. I think also you could then, I don't know, you could potentially get rid of MOC, which then means that you can get improved Incon, or you could like keep Blood Talons or get Apex or something like that. So there's like a little bit of movement here where you could still get Incon. The reason why I'm not going Convoke in any of my builds is because Convoke is only strong in the current iteration of the game because of conduits and covenants, right? Soul binds. So Conflux increases all of your damage by 30% for 4 seconds. That's going away. Also, Nia giving you 400 mastery whenever you convoke. That's going away. And Bonded Hearts is going away, right? So losing all that mastery from your convoke really reduces the value of it. Plus, it's a 2-minute convoke, which means it's like not incredible value because you have this quite long cooldown for what you're getting when you're not getting the mastery and all that other stuff as well. So I probably won't be playing Convoke often. I then also have like a single target build, which I'll just kind of run through. This was like my best attempt, or like my first attempt at making a bleed-based build. So with this, I didn't mess around with the class stuff. I did Savage Roar, Lunar Inspiration. You're getting Berserk here still as well with the combo point refunding. You're getting Brutal Slash. You're getting Blood Talons, you're getting Adaptive Swarm, and you're getting Circle of Life and Death. So this is a good way to make like a bleed-based build with my like first attempt at it. There are some things that you might want to pick up. You might need to improve Adaptive Swarm. Well, no, you don't for single target, so that's fine. You might want to run Draft, though I think you can get away without it because you have to go quite deep into this tree. You do lose Survival Instincts for it, though. So that's one thing to consider, and you lose like Convoke or Incon or anything like that because you're grabbing Luna. Maybe it's worth to drop Luna, grab Convoke instead. Maybe it's worth to drop Savage Roar and Luna and go someone else instead. But this is like a playstyle desire, right? You have Savage Roar, you have Lunar Inspiration, you're still running Blood Talons, you've got Adaptive Swarm on the mob as well. So everything's just like Circle of Life, everything's ticking quicker, and you have to be very hot on your toes. So hopefully the energy assistance here can help with Soul and Savage and improve Tiger's Fury here. Right, so those are kind of like a couple builds that I've just come up with so far. Now I want to get into the aspect of the video discussing like ways in which I think that this could be improved. So I'm just going to double check my notes. So Feral Druid doesn't get Force of Nature, period. Boomkin does. They get it quite easily. So I would like to see us get Force of Nature. Force of Nature is Trent's. I would like to see us get that somehow, somewhere. Maybe put it in the talent tree. Maybe just make it default for Balance and Feral only or something. Boomkin can also get Skull Bash, and they're like Solar Beam is somewhere like here in the tree, so it's quite early on and it's quite easy to get. And then they can also go Skull Bash if they want to, without having to really sacrifice much. So Boomkin kind of get that advantage. We don't have Sickle of the Lion, which I think is a travesty. I know that this icon looks like Sickle of the Lion, but it's not. It's Blood Talons. I think that we kind of need Sickle of the Lion to help with our AoE in keys specifically. And yeah, and then I'll go through some of the rest here. So looking at the sheet then. So this is looking at my build, but I'm just kind of breaking some of this down. So first and foremost, Jungle Stalker should be moved to Relentlessness and both be combined default. So I think that this talent here should combine and be moved here. And then in its place, we should get Sickle of the Lion either here or here, and then these two rotate. So Sickle could go here or there, and then Blood Talons and Feral Frenzy go there or there, and we rotate it around. But I think it's quite deep in the tree that it's like a value to grab Sickle. You have to invest in it, but it's not like the ultimate choice. So what that means with Jungle Stalker and Relentlessness, so Berserk is split up here. So this is Relentlessness. This gives you the combo point refunding of Berserk. This gives you the Rake and Shred increased damage element from Stealth, but it's split up. Whereas I think that like this should just be one talent, because that's what current Berserk is. Current Berserk should only be worth one talent, because it's a 3-minute cooldown and there's no way to reduce it. I also think that you could... in fact, I think I get into it later, but I think that you could find a way to include our current 2 set into the some of these Berserks, but I'll kind of get into that in a little bit. Brutal Slash cannot replace Swipe. So here, I don't think Brutal Slash can replace Swipe. It's way too core in this like build. You have to take it to get Survival Instincts. You have to take it to get Frenzy Band, to get Apex. Like, I don't think it's fair that it replaces Swipe, and I think it could open up some interesting playstyle with Blood Talons then if you can do that, like I explained in the build earlier. We also then have Sudden Ambush being 3 points, so Sudden Ambush is over here. Sudden Ambush is the conduit, which makes it so that whenever you use a combo point finisher, you have a 15% chance, if you're using 5 combo points, to make your next Rake or Shred as if you're from Stealth. You have to invest 3 points in that. Like, you have to if you want to move on. Which is really, really, like, taxing. I think that that's a bit unfair. Like, it's middle of the board, so if you want to go further, if you want to get Primal Wrath, if you want to come down here and, like, deal this, you, like, have to take this Sudden Ambush. So, if you want to get this left side of the tree. So, it's like a massively expensive investment for something that isn't even that strong. So, I would like to either see it reduce cost to 1 point, or replace it with Blood Mist. Blood Mist was the Azerite trait, which increased your Rake damage and also made it so that your Rake had a chance to put you in Berserk for a couple seconds. I think it was like 5 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds for, yeah, so it did that. So I would like to see maybe Blood Mist goes there, and then we can grab Blood Mist. If we get Sickle plus Blood Mist, that could be really, really good for Feral Druid. Imagine if you could proc Berserk for a few seconds, but it like pops your Sickle of the Lion and everything. I think that could be really, really good. One thing that I'm very positive about, though, I really like this here. This corner of the tree, I really, really like what's going on here. So the reason I like it is because you can get Apex and Circle, which have a positive feedback loop. The more... so you bleed everything with Primal Wrath, which the bleeds are ticking quicker because of Circle of Life and Death, which means that you have more chance to proc Apex, which, like, means that you can bite more, which means that you get energy refunded from, like, Soul, which means that you can do more combo point generators and get more finishes, which then, you know, bleeding from Circle quicker. And, like, you get this nice loop of Sickle or Circle helps proc your Apex more, and then, yeah, you get damage from Apex. So, like, these two talents work well together. I really like them being close to one another, and it enables, like, a nice playstyle. You also, from this, you get Soul of the Forest, you get Cat-Eye Curio, and then you get Apex as well. So, sorry, Frenzy Band as well, which is, like, really good. I like all this. I like all this, because it's kind of bleed-based, but it's, like, also spammy. And I think getting Frenzy Band and Apex is a really cool combination. And I think that it's, like, just a good corner. You also get some energy problems, like, issues being dealt with here as well. So, I like it. The fact that you can grab Savage Roar and grab Soul, really cool. So, next one here, SI, or Survival Instincts, our main defensive is way too deep into the tree and should be, I think it should probably be a class talent and could come over here and replace Ursulk's Endurance, which just makes it so that, Ursulk's Endurance makes it so that when you bark skin, I'll even show you, you get a small absorb for 8 seconds. So you get like an additional health, like, absorb. But you don't really care about that too much, really. So I would prefer if Survival Instincts was over here, because then if anybody wants it, like Boomkin or Resto Druid want it, they have to go, like, really deep into the Feral Tree, or, like, quite deep. They have to spend, like, 5 or 6 points before they can get there, so, you know, it's good. Also then frees us up a space here, and you could put something else there. Who knows, maybe put Blood Mist there or something like that. Next over, so looking at this section here, so we don't know what this talent is yet, but we can assume that it is the Necrolord Legendary, which makes it so that your Adaptive Swarm has a 60% chance to split when it jumps. We can assume that. It's 2 choices. It's got the same icon as Adaptive Swarm, which would make sense that it's probably that Legendary in some form. And it's cost 2 to do that. So I imagine it's probably 30% chance, then 60, or 45 and then 60. So 3 talent points for Adaptive Swarm plus Locust Swarm is very expensive and could be condensed into only 1 point capstone, not 2. So I think this could get condensed into one. Like, being extremely conservative, I think that this could be 2 points in total. So 1 point for Adaptive Swarm, 1 point for Locust. But at the same time, I feel like that should just be baked into Adaptive Swarm and make Adaptive Swarm like the capstone or something. I don't think it's good that you have to spend 3 points here. And I was playing around with the calculator. If you don't have to spend 3 points here, it means that you can get like an additional thing over here on the tree, or it means that you can go like down the center a little bit and potentially get Incon or something, or Convoke and have Convoke and Adaptive. Like, it enables you to actually get quite a bit more by freeing up an extra 1 to 2 combo points, talent points, sorry. Then I have a point here, but it's not really good to like hover over it with boxes, but if you want to, using this tree and maximize the strength of Berserk, you have to spend 5 talent points. And you have to go into every corner of the tree. And I think it should be condensed somehow. So Berserk here, like, let's look at the tree, I'll show you. So Berserk here, this gives you the combo point refund. And it's like in the middle of the tree. Then, and it doesn't lead into anything, right? It gives you MOC, but then you have to like go back on yourself, right? You have to come back the other side. So you're losing, like, you have to... It's not that you're like losing combo point on it, it's that you're then having to spend more combo points to then get further on. Jungle Stalker, this gives you the like the stealth, rake, or shred increase aspect, and this is deep into the tree and all the way to the far left. Like, you have to go to the far left. You can't get it from going like central and then going to the left. You have to go. You have to invest initially in the left hand side. Then on the right hand side we get Frenzy Band. This is a Berserk based cooldown, so in my head it's like a Berserk buff, right? Like it's Berserk associated. So you have to go all the way deep to the right. Again, same basically mirrored of what I was just saying about Jungle Stalker. Then you have Incarnation all the way at the bottom of the tree, right in the center. So if you're investing heavy left or heavy right, then like you have to go into the middle as well in order to get everything here. And then there's an additional combo point to make your Incarnation have another interaction where it like cancels itself if you shift. So you have to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you want to maximize the strength of all the Berserk-based abilities. And you have to hit every single corner of the tree, and it just doesn't seem like... That is way too much for Berserk. If this was a cooldown that was way more impactful into the core structure and design of the spec, then I could understand somewhat. But Berserk is a really shit cooldown on a good day. And now you have to spend 5 combo points on it to really maximize it. Being extremely like minimal here, you have to spend at least 3, right? Even if you just go to like Berserk current day, you have to spend 2 here, and then you can grab Incon there. So you have to spend like 3 points at least to get that. And I feel like it's a bit excessive for what Berserk can offer. And there's absolutely no way to reduce Berserk's cooldown. So you have this whole... You have 5 points invested in Berserk, and it's still a 3-minute cooldown. You're not even getting it below 3 minutes, which seems a bit bonkers. So I think it would be good to provide a way to reduce the Berserk cooldown. Maybe if you like threw it here or something, then you could get rid of SI, move it over there, put the Berserk cooldown there, cool. And then from that, you get Frenzy Band as well, more reduction, cool. You could potentially put our current 2-set bonus on here. So, like, imagine if you put Berserk, or like this, what is it, Jungle Stalker, you move that to Relentlessness, and then you put Sickle of the Lion there, and then you put maybe our 2-set bonus there or something like that, right? That, I think, would be at least a bit better. There's probably even a better way to do it, but that's just what I've thought of so far. A few other things that just, like, quickfire to go through is, like, here on the screen, and... So these are a few things that aren't like talent related, but necessarily, but quality of life things. So cat form, we should have a castable way of using Rebirth in cat form, even if it costs like 60 energy or something. I think it would still be better to be able to cast it in cat form, not have to shift out and back in. Especially, imagine if you take this Incon talent, which way if you leave Incon, sorry, here, if you take this Incon and you leave cat, then it like kills your Incon. Imagine if you pop cooldowns and then somebody dies and then you have to immediately res them. Like, how terrible would that feel? It would just feel god-awful. So, they need to do something there. Incap Roar shouldn't switch you to bear form if you're in cat already. So, here's Incap Roar on the tree. It's going to change you to bear form if you're a cat and you use it. Which, again, imagine if you're in cooldowns and then you need to use an incap roar. You're in your incon for 30 seconds. Like, there could just be terrible interplay there with that if you grab that talent. But also, it's just kind of annoying. Like, you're trying to DPS, you do a utility thing, and then you're in bear form. Now you got to shift back into cat. It's just, like, very jarring. Force of nature, please, I swear, please, 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 please give us trees somewhere, because otherwise you're ultimately always going to want a boomkin all the time, everything, always. The next one, which you can't quite see, and I apologize, Carnivorous Instinct could be replaced with Jungle Fury. So, a point that somebody made in my chat, Carnivorous Instinct here on the tree, it's 2 points, it makes you Tiger's Fury increase your damage by 6%. Which is cool, but a point that they made is that when you're low geared, having like a flat 10% crit from this, say it was 5 and then 10% crit here, the crit is more beneficial, especially when you're under geared, because crit benefit is huge when you don't have correct stats and your stat weights are low because your gear item level's low and blah, blah, blah. The spec will feel a lot better if you have more crit, and if you can get that early on with Carnivorous Instinct, that would be cool. It's how it used to work with Jungle Fury in BFA as the Azerite trait. So it coming back would be, I guess, reasonable. That can make sense to me. I'm also happy with this 6% damage. I'm cool with either, but I think the points can be made for both, so that's fine. Once you are really well geared and you have a lot of crit, then I think Carnivorous Instinct will ultimately be better. But yeah, there's definitely arguments for that. Last thing, oh yeah, we're also getting Mark of the Wild. So for anyone wondering, like, oh, how's Feral doing, blah, 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 we are getting Mark of the Wild, if I can find it. There it is. So Mark of the Wild is going to be a 60-minute buff. It increases the target, so everybody in your party and your raid increases their speed, movement speed that'll be, crit strike chance by 3%, and reduces their magic damage taken by 3%, which is really important for tanks, because tanks don't have, like, tanks normally struggle with magic damage taken rather than physical damage. So this could be really critical for tanks. The problem is that every single druid spec is going to be getting it. So if you're a feral druid, you're probably still going to struggle to get in groups. The advantage you have as a guardian is that you're a tank, so people always want tanks, no matter what tank they are. So you're going to get invited anyway. Resto druid, they're a healer. People always want healers, especially Resto druid is probably going to have Skull Bash as well, so that's really nice. And then Boomkin is just the superior spec. It brings Force of Nature. It also can bring some really, really good utility down the tree, a lot easier than Feral Druid can. It's ranged. It's going to have really good damage because it just does. And yeah, it's just going to have everything there. So there's no real like interest in bringing a Feral now with this Mark of the Wild, with it being for everyone. But there's ways that they can change that without changing Mark of the Wild. But that's kind of my review of things so far. I think that there are some changes. Like, generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with the tree, like what we have on the tree. But I think that they could maybe change the positioning of some things, or they could reduce the cost of some things, or they could like sub some spells out for other spells, or move some of them around and stuff. So like the actual tree itself, like the angles you have to go, it can be a bit awkward, even on the class tree as well. I could definitely talk about this for more than 20 minutes, but I want to try and keep this video like reasonably short as best I can. I want to get my hands on this. I want to be able to play with it before I really decide whether or not I like it. There's some cool things I'm looking forward to with like this corner with Blood Talons. If I can have like Brutal Slash Swipe Thrash with Scent of the Blood in the mix, and I'm gonna have really good energy restoration. I'm still running Savage Roar and Frenzy Bands in the mix. Like I'm generally happy if when I play this it feels as good as it sounds in my head. But yeah, we need Sickle of the Lion and some stuff like that. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, I'll link Mythic Trap in the description. You can go into Dragonflight Talents, mess around with things yourselves. And yeah, looking forward to see other classes, what they're going to be releasing as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.